the divine tale of King Ambarisha and sage Durvasa. In the ancient kingdom of Ayodhya, during the Treta Yuga, there ruled a king named Ambarisha, whose fame spread across the three worlds, not for his military conquests or vast wealth, but for his extraordinary devotion to Lord Vishnu. Born in the illustrious Ikshvaku dynasty, the same lineage that would later produce Lord Rama, Ambarisha possessed all the qualities of an ideal ruler: wisdom, compassion, strength, and righteousness. Yet what distinguished him most was his single-minded devotion to the Supreme Lord. The exemplary devotee, King Ambarisha's daily routine was a testament to his devotion. He would rise before dawn, complete his morning ablutions, and spend hours in meditation on Lord Vishnu. The melodious songs of praise to the Lord that emanated from the royal chambers would enchant even the celestial beings. The king governed his kingdom with perfect dharma, ensuring justice and prosperity for all his subjects, yet his heart remained untouched by pride or attachment to his royal station. Among his many spiritual practices, Ambarisha was particularly meticulous about observing the Ekadashi Vrat, a fast observed on the 11th day of each lunar fortnight, followed by breaking the fast at a specific time the next day, called Dwadashi. Such was the purity of his practice that Lord Vishnu, pleased with his devotion, blessed the king with the divine protection of the Sudarshana Chakra, the Lord's personal celestial weapon that would hover invisibly above the king, guarding him from all harm. The king, in his humility, remained unaware of this divine protection. The sacred vow one particular year, King Ambarisha embarked on a challenging spiritual discipline, a year-long observance called Dwadashi Vrata, which required absolute precision in timing and ritual. For 12 consecutive months, the king observed this rigorous practice, dedicating each action and thought to Lord Vishnu. As the final day of this austere observance arrived, the entire kingdom prepared for the culmination of their beloved king's spiritual journey. The royal palace was adorned with flowers and fragrant incense, while priests prepared elaborate offerings for the Lord. According to the calculations of the royal astrologers, the king was to break his fast at a very specific moment, the exact transition from Dwadashi, 12th day, to Trayodashi, 13th day, of the lunar calendar. Missing this precise window would nullify the spiritual merits accrued over the entire year. The unexpected guest, as the auspicious hour approached, and King Ambarisha prepared to conclude his vow with a ceremonial breaking of the fast, the air in the royal court suddenly filled with a palpable energy. The guards announced the arrival of an unexpected visitor, the great sage Durvasa Muni, known throughout the three worlds for both his spiritual powers and his quick temper. Durvasa was one of the most powerful mystic sages of the era, a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva himself. His spiritual accomplishments were legendary, as was his irascible nature. The slightest perceived slight could provoke his terrible curse, which even the gods feared. Despite the crucial timing of his ritual, King Ambarisha immediately set aside his preparations and rushed to receive the sage with all the honors befitting such a distinguished guest. According to the ancient codes of hospitality, Atithi Dharma, a householder must never eat before feeding his guests, especially if the guest is a Brahmin sage. "O great Rishi," said King Ambarisha, bowing low before the sage with folded hands, "my palace is blessed by your divine presence. Please honor us by accepting our humble hospitality before I break my fast." Durvasa, pleased with the king's reception, agreed, but said, "I shall first go to the river Yamuna to perform my midday rituals and meditation. Prepare the feast, O king, and I shall return shortly to partake of it." The dilemma. As the sage departed for his ablutions, King Ambarisha found himself in a profound dilemma. The auspicious moment for breaking his fast was rapidly approaching, yet the sage had not returned. The royal priests and advisers gathered in urgent consultation. "Great king," said the chief priest with concern in his voice, "only moments remain before the prescribed time for breaking your fast will pass. If you miss this window, your entire year-long vow will be rendered fruitless." "But how can I eat before serving our honored guest?" replied the troubled king. "That would violate the sacred code of hospitality and incur sin." "And yet," countered another learned priest, "failing to complete your vow at the prescribed time after observing it faithfully for a year would also be a religious failing." The king's face reflected his inner turmoil as two dharmic principles came into direct conflict. After deep contemplation, he turned to the assembled priests and asked, "Is there no middle path that would allow me to honor both obligations?" After deliberation, the wisest among the priests offered a solution. "O king, according to the scriptures, taking a sip of water can be considered as both breaking and not breaking the fast. It satisfies the technical requirement of your vow, yet since it is only water, you will still be able to properly honor the sage with a full meal upon his return." The sage's wrath. After carefully considering this advice, King Ambarisha took just a single sip of water, technically breaking his fast while still honoring his commitment to feed the sage before taking a full meal himself. With his vow technically fulfilled, he waited patiently for Durvasa's return, ready to serve him an elaborate feast. When Durvasa Muni finally returned from his ablutions, through his yogic powers, he immediately perceived what had transpired. Though the king had found a legitimate solution to his predicament, the sage's infamous temper flared. In his eyes, the king had insulted him by breaking his fast, however technically, before the sage had eaten. "You arrogant king!" thundered Durvasa, his eyes blazing with fury. "Hiding behind your crown and kingdom, you dare disrespect a Brahmin sage. Behind your facade of devotion lies nothing but pride." Before the shocked courtiers could react, Durvasa, in his uncontrolled rage, plucked a lock of his matted hair and cast it to the ground with a terrible incantation. The lock transformed into a fearsome demon with eyes of flame and a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. It grew to an enormous size, shaking the very foundations of the palace. "Destroy this disrespectful king," commanded Durvasa. As the terrifying apparition rushed toward King Ambarisha, the king remained calm, neither fleeing nor calling for his guards. With his hands folded in prayer, he mentally surrendered to Lord Vishnu, ready to accept whatever fate the Lord deemed fit for him. Divine intervention. In that moment of pure surrender, a brilliant light filled the court as the Sudarshana Chakra, Lord Vishnu's fiery discus weapon, manifested before the demon. With its 1,000 blazing spokes spinning at an incredible speed, it made short work of the magical demon, reducing it to ashes in an instant. But the divine weapon did not stop there. Perceiving the threat to the Lord's beloved devotee, the Sudarshana Chakra turned toward Durvasa himself, its heat and light intensifying as it moved toward the sage. Durvasa's anger instantly transformed into terror as he realized the gravity of his mistake. No ordinary weapon, The Sudarshana Chakra was the embodiment of Lord Vishnu's divine protection, and it had been set in motion to protect the king. The sage's flight, realizing he had gravely misjudged the situation and the king's spiritual stature, Durvasa fled in panic. His mystic powers allowed him to travel at incredible speed, first to the realm of Lord Brahma, the creator. "O grandfather of the universe," pleaded Durvasa, "protect me from Vishnu's chakra, which pursues me for my offense against King Ambarisha." Lord Brahma sadly shook his head. "My son, even I cannot interfere with Lord Vishnu's will or the movement of his divine chakra. It acts on the Supreme Lord's behalf to protect his true devotee. I suggest you seek shelter with Lord Shiva." Desperate, Durvasa rushed to Mount Kailash, where Lord Shiva, his partial source, resided. But Lord Shiva, despite his immense power, also declined. "O Durvasa," said the compassionate Shiva, "I understand your plight, but the Sudarshana Chakra represents Lord Vishnu's promise of protection to his devotees. Not even I can stand against it when it acts in this capacity. Your only recourse is to seek forgiveness from the one you have wronged." Running out of options and with the chakra closing in, Durvasa finally approached Lord Vishnu himself in Vaikuntha, falling at the Lord's feet in surrender. "O Supreme Lord," cried the sage, "I acknowledge my error in misjudging your devotee Ambarisha. Please recall your chakra and spare my life." Lord Vishnu looked upon the sage with compassion but firmness. "Durvasa," he said, "while I understand your plea, you must understand that my devotees are dearer to me than my own self. I have granted the Sudarshana Chakra to Ambarisha as a token of my love for his unwavering devotion. Only he can call it off. Return to him, acknowledge your mistake, and seek his forgiveness. If his heart is as pure as I know it to be, he will surely forgive you." The return and reconciliation. For 1 full year, the Sudarshana Chakra pursued Durvasa across the universe as he contemplated his actions and the nature of true devotion. Finally, humbled and enlightened by the experience, he returned to Ayodhya to seek King Ambarisha's forgiveness. When he arrived, he was astounded to find the king exactly where he had left him, standing at the entrance of the palace, still waiting to serve his meal to the sage before taking any food himself. For an entire year, despite being technically released from his vow, King Ambarisha had fasted, subsisting only on water, patiently awaiting the sage's return to fulfill his duty as a host. Durvasa was overwhelmed by this display of patience, forgiveness, and adherence to Dharma. He fell at the king's feet, tears streaming down his face. "O noble king," said Durvasa, his voice choked with emotion, "forgive this arrogant sage who mistook your righteous action for pride. I have learned from you that true spiritual advancement lies not in mystical powers or austere practices, but in humility, patience, and sincere devotion to the Lord. The entire universe could not protect me from the consequences of offending a true devotee of the Lord." King Ambarisha, true to his nature, helped the sage to his feet and embraced him warmly. Without a hint of resentment, he addressed the still hovering Sudarshana Chakra. "O protector and divine weapon of Lord Vishnu," prayed the king, "if I have ever served the Lord with devotion, if my heart has ever been pure in its love for him, then I request you to show mercy to sage Durvasa, who is a great devotee of Lord Shiva and has now recognized his momentary lapse. Let no harm come to him." At these words, the Sudarshana Chakra ceased its pursuit and returned to its invisible vigil above the king. the sacred feast and divine lessons, with the conflict resolved, King Ambarisha finally arranged for an elaborate feast to honor sage Durvasa. As they ate together, the sage, now deeply respectful of the king, asked him to share the secrets of his spiritual practice. "O king," said Durvasa, "your devotion has earned you protection that even the greatest of yogis cannot command. What is the essence of your practice that has made you so dear to Lord Vishnu?" King Ambarisha smiled gently and replied, "Dear sage, there is no secret or special power in my practice. I simply try to remember the Lord in everything I do. My hands work for him. My eyes look for him in all creation. My ears listen for his name, and my heart beats only to love him. I follow the prescribed rituals not for their fruits, but as expressions of love. When faced with difficulties or dilemmas, I simply surrender the outcome to him, knowing that his divine will always leads to the greatest good." Durvasa nodded thoughtfully. "Today, I have learned that spiritual power without humility leads to pride, and pride is the greatest obstacle on the spiritual path. Your humility in victory and patience in adversity reveal the true depth of your realization." Therengse, this story from the 9th canto of the Bhagavata Purana serves as a powerful reminder of several spiritual truths. True devotion is more powerful than even the greatest mystical abilities. The Lord protects those who surrender completely to him is the downfall of even the most advanced spiritual practitioners. Tia and forgiveness reflect the highest spiritual understanding. In conflicts of dharma, pure devotion provides the clarity to find the right path. To this day, devotees remember King Ambarisha as the embodiment of balanced devotion, one who perfectly fulfilled his worldly duties while keeping his heart fixed on the divine. His story inspires seekers to cultivate not just external observances, but the internal spirit of loving surrender that marks a true bhakta devotee. As for Durvasa, this encounter transformed him, tempering his formidable spiritual power with newfound humility. In later accounts, while still maintaining his fiery nature, he is shown to have gained deeper wisdom about the true essence of spirituality. The Sudarshana Chakra continues to symbolize divine protection for devotees across traditions, a reminder that sincere devotion calls forth the Lord's personal intervention and care, even in the most challenging circumstances.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more such inspiring tales. See you in the next video.